herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe SE Talk Vancouver, 1. Oktober 2019. Neue Company bei mir, Cannabis-Sektor. Agraflora ist mein Gast sozusagen. Brandon Boddy, you are CEO of the company?
CEO and chairman, yes.
And chairman, okay. Double function. So brings double pressure on you.
That's right. Working lots of hours.
And pressure means in this market not funny times. Then we are now exactly opposite that what we have last year. Yeah. Last year everybody was optimistic, and now it looks like the opposite. It's like a terrible situation for all the cannabis investors.
Yeah.
What are the main reasons for your thinking why the market is now so depressed?
Well, the main thing is that markets, go too high on one side, too low on the other. I think that right now we're into obviously a correction, which is providing investors with cash a great opportunity to buy the companies they like at significant discounts, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a function of more companies in the space, more and more companies for investors to choose from. And obviously, there's been some hiccups in the sector. We don't need to mention companies' names, but there's been some companies have some issues, and I think that things have sort of corrected themselves naturally with the way a new market that's developing really occurs.
What comes into mind is also maybe a possibility. We are here in Vancouver, and Vancouver is well known also for these mining stocks.
Yeah.
So, and the mining stocks doing well this year. Last year it was the opposite, they're doing really bad. And all the mining stocks blame the cannabis stocks that they steal all the money.
Yeah.
Is it now maybe opposite way?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's necessarily the case, but definitely there's the industries are cyclical in nature, and investors like to hop on whatever's exciting at the time, right? So if cannabis stocks are moving up every day, you have to play the sector. If gold stocks are moving up, but I think gold had a bad day yesterday as well. But it's it's one of these issues where it was exciting. There's a lot of new entrants into the sector, and now it's going to be time for the retail investor and the market to figure out which companies are real and which companies are not. And so, the old saying that, the cream will rise to the top and, the rest will sink. So I think it'll be an interesting time, and investors will have an opportunity to probably profit from it.
That the real problem is really that we don't know how big is really the market, but that it's always in starting.
Yeah, listen, the Canadian market is it's pretty well known. It's it's only as big as it is, but there's enormous opportunities in Europe, and some companies are taking the opportunity to try to get their product to Europe. It's something that we'll probably be exploring as well. There's complex issues with getting your Canadian product to Europe. There's there's a value chain there, but there's a huge market over there, and Canadian producers can value from potentially exporting and stuff like that. So,
okay, we talk a little bit about the market.
Sure.
So coming back to your company,
Yeah.
It's, I said in my German introduction, this is a starting interview, so we have not too much clue about your company. So fill us in what the company doing, what is your space, what you're going for, and what you plan for the next 6 months.
Yeah, it's perfect. So Agraflora, the story is fairly simple. What we have is a 2.2 million square foot greenhouse facility in Delta, British Columbia, Canada, and it's in the process of being retrofitted. It was formerly producing tomatoes and cucumbers. Mm-hmm. It's being retrofitted to produce cannabis. We're finished our phase 1 of the retrofit, and we're into Health Canada for licensing, which we'll talk about after. But when complete, it'll be the single largest single greenhouse in Canada. And just to put it in perspective a little bit for your audience, 2.2 million square feet is such an enormous size. It's think of 10 soccer fields put together, all under glass. And so it's really exciting. The infrastructure already existed. There's about $200 million worth of infrastructure that existed before we even started the retrofit. And we've been at it for the better part of a year for phase one, and we've put in I think capital up to date is over $30 million. So we're serious about what we're doing, and we're into Health Canada. And once we have a license, we'll be producing the next day on phase one.
So this is really a big difference to the other ones. So you don't build a new greenhouse, you have already a greenhouse and retrofit it to a cannabis space.
Yeah, listen, if you were to start and build a brand new greenhouse, we feel that we probably gain 3 years on the market by taking an existing greenhouse. And just, small things, the concrete in our greenhouse, on a new build that would cost about $50 million. These are sunken costs that are already there. So it's exciting, and there's a huge advantage to doing a retrofit rather than a brand new build. And so we feel that it's going to allow us to get ahead of the market as far as production and licensing rather than a brand new build. And huge cost savings, which means dilution and whatnot for shareholders when you have to raise capital. So we're excited. Share price, they go up and they go down, but we're operating the business properly, and that's all that matters.
So I understandable with this time advantage, but this brings me to another point. When it's really working well, when we can expect your first production out of this greenhouse?
Yeah, so if we put in for video evidence about 10 days ago. So our consultants and guidance suggests that we should get a license between 4 to 8 weeks post video evidence. Once we receive a license, plants go in the next day, and we'll be harvesting 3 months later. So we anticipate late Q4, early Q1, and that will really change the dynamic of the company. We'll go from a non-revenue generating company to revenue generating. It's really going to be, once we receive the license, it's going to be the most exciting time for the company.
You say first phase. What mean this for the second phase or the third phase?
Yeah, so if you can imagine on 2.2 million square feet, to do it all in one shot is just an enormous undertaking. So we split it into multiple phases, 3 phases to be exact. And our first phase is roughly 500,000 square feet, which is still enormous. You have to take a golf cart through the greenhouse, right? There's 120 people working on the retrofit. Like it's quite large. But first phase, second phase is already being worked on. But first phase, we've completed, and once we've submitted for video evidence, that's first phase is complete. We're on to phase 2 and then phase 3. The exact timing of when all 3 phases are complete, I don't want to mislead anybody, but it's a moving target, but it'll be in the year 2020.
Wow, so quick.
Yeah, we're moving fast.
Wow. We know, or that was always the numbers that in October should be the second phase of the legalization process in Canada should be run. So that the edibles and so on is also now allowed. Do you know more details from this, or?
No, edibles and topicals, could provide a massive, wave of investor interest and an injection of capital for companies. We expect that Health Canada comes through in Q4. They're a government organization, so I don't want to put words in their mouth. But we anticipate getting guidance from them on the exact specifics, which leads me sort of to our other phase of the company, which is we're in the process of building the largest edibles factory in North America in Winnipeg. We've partnered with a 100-year-old candy manufacturer. It's a family company, and we're in the process of retrofitting again a 55,000 square foot warehouse. And we're in the process of licensing it as well, and it'll produce confectionaries, and these types of edibles, as well as potentially topicals, as we have a cosmetics line as well. So it when this sort of next wave of legalization, so to speak, comes through, we're going to have a lot of things to talk about. we expect that the edibles factory will be complete in Q1 of next year as well. So,
wow! So that's really, you have a lot of milestones in the next 6 months.
Yeah, we really look at Delta as the engine that's going to drive the company. It can produce, extracts and whatnot for our edibles and topicals factory, and so that we're extracting every piece of the value chain. We're not just a low-cost producer, but we're also, getting some of the higher margin stuff in the cannabis sector out of our edibles factory.
What I not really understand, or was surprising in last year or in the beginning, when I learned more about the cannabis market, you as a cannabis producer, you sell it to Health, or is it to Health Canada, and they distribute it to the how it works?
You can sell directly to the governments, but everything rolls through Health Canada.
So
but you have individuals.
But it goes through the governments, and the governments give it down then to the single.
Yeah, correct.
So how it works with the eatables?
Well, we're still waiting to hear.
It's not, you have no.
Yeah, and I wouldn't care to venture a guess on exactly. I mean, we have our theories, but why don't we just wait to see what the regulations come out? I just know that there's a huge market for edibles. For instance, baby boomers and stuff that might not want to smoke, but want to take a CBD or THC gummy to go to bed, or for pain, or topicals for pain. There's a huge market for it, and we plan on participating in that part of the value chain in a big way.
When's really working fine, everything, and you coming up and you get the light, and Health Canada coming up with the eatables and so on, what we can expect 2020 in the end of the year, how the company looks like, also maybe if you want with revenue numbers.
Yeah, I'm not going to give any sort of guidance as to revenue numbers, because there's really too many variables with legalization of edibles and whatnot. But you can expect, we will be, I believe, a licensed producer in 2020. We'll be in revenue on phase 1 of Delta. Phase 2 should be complete and revenue generating as well. Dependent on Health Canada, our edibles factory will be pumping. To put it in context, our edibles factory when complete, should be able to put out $750 million worth of retail sales numbers. I think that it's something that's end user sales numbers, but it's a significant amount of capacity. So, I think there's a lot of exciting times ahead for the company within the developments, and despite turbulent markets, there's still a lot of great milestones that are coming, and like I said, the good companies will succeed, and some of the others will go by the wayside. So.
Sounds like a busy next 6 months or 12 months.
Yeah, expect quite a bit of news out of Agraflora from Delta, which is sort of the driving engine of the company, but as well as our edibles factory, our cosmetics company. There's a lot of exciting things, and we plan on keeping investors tuned in.
Coming to the shareholder structure. How many shares are outstanding? What are the biggest groups? The shareholders?
Sure. So there's roughly 900 million shares outstanding. Based on today or this week's market cap, or around 250 million market cap. If you look at other companies that have capacity that we're going to have, we're significantly undervalued. That's probably due to licensing coming and whatnot. Our shareholder base, 340 million shares, is held by a single group. It's called Organic Flower. So that stock does not trade. We do have a large shareholder base. We trade on average roughly 4 million shares a day. We're one of the most liquid issuers. So, it works on the upside. It works really well. People can buy and sell as they want. They don't have to worry about a spread or anything like that, which is nice. But we do have a large shareholder base. We did a 5-for-1 rolling split roughly 9 months ago. So we believe that liquidity is paramount, and that retail investors don't like to get stuck in stocks that they can't sell. So if you like Agraflora, you can buy it within a half penny spread, and if you want to sell it, you can also do the same. So, we're committed to providing liquidity to investors, which is what some companies don't do.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon, thank you. This was a great first introduction to your company.
Absolutely.
So, wir haben wieder einiges gelernt. Erstens mal Agraflora, Zusammenfassung, Sie haben 2,2 Millionen Quadratfeet, das sind ungefähr 10 Fußballfelder, hat er halt so gesagt. Das ist für uns leichter zu verständlich, und 10 Fußballfelder ist ein Riesengebiet, und zwar das größte zusammenhängende Glashaus quasi, das in der Cannabis-Area ist. So, was machen Sie? Haben jetzt, das ist ein altes Glashaus, Sie brauchen es nicht bauen, die Kosten waren ungefähr 200 Millionen, was da wert ist, alleine was das Glashaus quasi wert ist. Sie dann jetzt einen Teil einmal umwandeln für die Cannabisproduktion, haben die Lizenz beantragt. Die Lizenz, da gibt es ein Video-Audio, und das haben sie vor 10 Tagen gemacht. Normalerweise soll die Lizenz innerhalb von 4 bis 8 Wochen danach genehmigt werden, und dann wird natürlich am nächsten Tag sofort mit der Pflanzung begonnen, und 3 Monate später kann man dann das erste Mal ernten. So, das läuft, das ist sozusagen der Motor, der sitzt das ist ein BC-Delta.
BC, ja.
Also in British Columbia Delta ist dort das quasi das größte zusammenhängende Glashaus. So, damit sparen Sie sich ungefähr 3 Jahre Entwicklungszeit, weil Sie einfach das Glashaus nicht bauen müssen und natürlich riesig viel kosten. Was extrem spannend ist, und da habe ich wieder was Neues gelernt, ich bin immer davon ausgegangen, dass im Oktober diese zweite Phase der Legalisierung in Kanada, also wo es um Esswaren, Edibles und Topics, das sind so Cremen und so weiter geht, dass das im Oktober passiert. Das ist ja allerdings scheinbar noch nicht sicher, weil jetzt Kanada noch nichts published hat, wie das eigentlich ablaufen soll. Soll im 4. Quartal jetzt kommen, sagen wir mal so. Und ja, das ist jetzt genau das Thema, wo Sie warten. Sie bauen dort mit einem 100 Jahre alten Zuckerfabrikant. Wie kann man das auf Hochdeutsch bringen? Bei uns sagen wir halt Zuckerfabrikant. Haben sie ein Joint Venture gemacht, bauen dort die größte sozusagen Anlage für diese Edibles. Und sie wollen dementsprechend eben diese Zucker, Cookies, Cremen und so weiter, Gummis, also Gummibären und so weiter rausbringen. Das ist da quasi, und sie haben damit einen Partner, das finde ich extrem spannend, das heißt, das tut man sich natürlich viel, viel leichter mit dem Vertrieb, denn das ist natürlich ein Keypoint. Für mich ist der Keypoint der Vertrieb. Beim Produzenten hat man relativ wenig Einfluss auf das Endprodukt, denn man muss eigentlich alles über die Governments verkaufen. Bei den Edibles weiß man so nicht, wie das laufen wird, weil es Kanada noch keine Sache rausgegeben haben. Wir haben am Anfang des Interviews sehr viel über den Markt gesprochen. Wir haben jetzt aktuell genau das Gegenteil von dem, was wir vor einem Jahr gehabt haben. Vor einem Jahr waren wir extrem bullish, hoch, alles bestens, alles drüber, und jetzt ist man eigentlich depressed. Und das ist jetzt genau das Umfeld. Natürlich ist es besser, man kauft in einem Depressed Market aus wie in einem bullischen Market, und deswegen hoffen wir auch, dass jetzt quasi der Bodenbildung da ist. Es wird extrem spannend sein, weil in den nächsten 6 bis 12 Monate kommen Sie hoffentlich mit Delta in die Produktion, plus natürlich auch Ihre Gummies und Candy Edible Fabrik sozusagen. Ja, Aktien draußen 900 Millionen, das ist relativ viel. Marktkapitalisierung um die 250 Millionen. Sie werden regelmäßig gehandelt, über 4 Millionen Aktien pro Tag, das ist sehr viel. Das sind, glaube ich, der most liquid stock im Cannabis. Und das ist eigentlich auch schon ein Ding, weil das natürlich den Investors das Raus und Rein natürlich viel mehr erleichtert. Ja, das war's in Kürze von Agraflora im Oktober, 1. Oktober 2019, Vancouver. Tschüss und Baba. Thank you.
Thank you very much.